Hi guys, what's up? It's Kevin. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a story time video. So I figured since this is a video about driving, I was like, well, we'll film it in the car, why not? Okay, it'll be really hot in here. Also, I just have my phone here, so I have some notes to talk about. So here we go. You know, when this first happened, this was a pretty embarrassing story to me. I was really upset about the whole situation. Figured now looking back, it's kind of funny thinking about it. So basically today I'm going to be telling you the story of how I failed my driver's test 3 times. And yep, I know what you're thinking, 3 times, come on Kev, but 3 times. This is also a collab with my friend Jessie here on YouTube. Her channel is Have Faith Jess, so I'll link her channel down below. You guys can go check her out. She is also doing a story time video. But anyways, let's just get right on into the story. So this all started about 2 years ago in March-ish, yeah. So I think it's different for each state when it comes to driving. You know, what age you can get your license or permit, whatever, however it works in your state. But in my state, at least, you have to be 16 years old and then you can go and get your permit. So basically that means you can drive with a driving instructor, your parents, no one else in the car. But, you know, the rules are different for each state. You guys can go, look it up. Oh, here comes my neighbor to come watch me. But in my state, at least, once you turn 16, you get your permit. It's about 6 months you have to have your permit for it before you can go and get your license. Well, I turned 16 in April, and a few months after, I decided that I would go and get my permit. So I got my permit in June. I think it was June 1st or 6th, sometime in the beginning of June. The test was honestly pretty easy. It's just a bunch of multiple choice questions. I think if you get 5 wrong, then you fail, but less than 5, you're good. And honestly, I just looked online. They had some practice tests, so I did that and studied, and it was pretty easy. I passed the first time. The permit test is really not that difficult to worry about. So after I passed my permit test, I waited. I think it's 6 months. Again, I'm not quite sure on what the rule is, but I decided that taking driver's ed would be the best. You know, I figured they teach you more things about driving and help, and it also takes money off your insurance, which is one of the biggest things that's really helpful. Driver's ed honestly is a complete waste of money though. I'm not gonna really get into that, but that's more for your own opinion. But anyways, so I waited a little while before I felt actually comfortable driving. I would practice with my parents and stuff. So I decided to take driver's ed in March of the following year. So I know that's probably a long time for some people. I don't know, let me see. July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, so it's 3 months after when you can go to start to get your license. And all the classes were pretty much scheduled until March, that's when I was free. So I decided to take driver's ed in March. So I did driver's ed, I scheduled my drives. The drives with the instructor were actually pretty helpful. I thought it was a lot better than the actual class. That's just me, everyone learns differently. So if you guys are familiar with the Department of Motor Vehicles or whatever it's called in your state, you know that they are incredibly slow. Honestly, it's ridiculous. It takes forever. After I completed driver's ed in March, I scheduled my tests at the end of March so that I would have it done once my drives were done. And I wasn't able to take the test until the beginning of, or mid-May-ish. So this is when I get to my first test. Preparation for my first test, I did a lot of driving, different like I said with the instructor, a bunch of different things. And I really felt ready for that first test. When it comes to any sort of test, it's really a mental thing for me. I don't know if that's weird or other people are like that, but if I set my mind, I'm I can do well, I'll be okay, then I don't know, that helps me do better on tests. Is that weird? I don't know. So I got to the DMV and I was pretty nervous. It's the first driving test I had taken. I didn't really quite know what to expect, but I hoped it would be my first and last test. I don't have to take it once. That's what I thought. You get into the car, they ask you to turn your blinker on, lights, all these different things so that they can check the car. That's basically the first step on your test. So I got to the car and we're driving, I pull out, everything's going well. So she asked me to pull into a parking lot. I think it was a CVS or something, I don't even know. But it was earlier in the morning, so no one was even around. Well, I pull in and she asked me, she's there's all these different parking spots lined up on the side. So she goes parked on the third one on the right or something, I don't remember. So I go past, I did what the driving instructor told me, I'm backing up, and then I noticed that I'm in between 2 different spots. I didn't know, when I first took the test, that all you have to do is just go straight and then, fix it and back up. So what I did was I kept, I would drive out of the spot and then go around the whole parking lot and try to do it again, back in one spot. But that's what they teach you in driver's ed, but that's not always going to happen because spots are different. So I didn't really do it right the first time. God, I don't want to talk about this. I get back and I'm driving back to the DMV. I think it's 3 times it takes you to back into the spot. And then she's like, no, just you don't know how to do this, get out. So it was my third time. I backed in, I finally got it, and she was like, okay, good. So now pull out of the parking lot and we'll head back to the DMV. So I was like, all right, we're good. I'm driving back, I made no mistakes on the way back, everything was good. And then I get out of the car and she's like, all right, we're gonna go talk to your parents or whoever brought you. And my mom had brought me this time. We get out and she's reviewing the paper, and she didn't tell me like if you pass or fail once you're done. We get there and she hands the paper and she goes, okay, so the only thing that you struggled with was the backing into the spot. And like, I knew that I struggled backing in, but I was like, well, I had done it, I eventually got it, I knew what I was doing. I was just extremely nervous, and I eventually got in the spot. So I'm like, all right, you know, all is well, I'm doing good. So then she goes, everything else you did honestly great, so all you have to do is just come back next time, drive the exact same, you're going to be good, don't worry about it, just work on your backing in and you'll pass the next time. So unfortunately today, you know, you didn't pass. And I just sat there and I was just like, you know, I was very discouraged the first time that I, you know, didn't pass, because I figured, you know, I'd get my license, I'd be good, everything would be fine. But it's okay, honestly, if you don't pass the first time, because you can just take it again. I thought I could just take it again, but nope. A couple more times, then I'll be good. I go up to the counter, ask them to reschedule, and like I said, with the DMV, you can wait 2 weeks before you take your next test, but with the DMV, that means like forever. So I wasn't able to take my test again until July, which screwed everything up because I work in the summer and I needed like to drive to work and stuff, so that screwed everything up. Then it came down to the next test. So I was determined, I was like, I can do well, I got this, everything will be good. I practiced a lot, especially on the backing in. The actual driving part, I just drove like randomly and I was fine with that, but the backing in and like the specialty things, parallel parking, all of like that, that's what I focused on the most. We get to my second appointment, it's in July. So we get to my appointment, it's the second time, and I see the same woman that was there before. The woman was honestly really nice. Like, she wasn't a bad person. I didn't do it right. So I get there and I'm like, maybe I like hope I have her again. You know, she was nice, she knows, but I didn't really know what to expect. So this guy comes over, so he's like, all right, Kevin. So I go over to him and I was, you know, very polite. I was like, if I'd be nice, that's definitely, you don't want to be rude. I mean, honestly, you don't want to be rude. Like, shook his hand, he said, okay, show me your car. And I was like, all right, let's go. I get in the car and this guy is, you know, he's really nice. He was talking to me, he was like, you'll do great, you know, all right. I get out and, you know, we're just driving like normally, and there's one part, if you come up to a stop sign and, okay, so here's the car and here's the stop sign. So you pull up, you know, you have to stop where the stop sign is. So you pull up, and you have to stop where the stop sign is or where the line is. But what you can do is, you know, sometimes when you stop here and there's cars like coming this way, you can't see where the cars are. So like you'd have to pull out more than where the stop sign is in order to see, so because you don't want to crash into them. Well, I decided that I would stop like past, because there wasn't a line where the stop sign is, so like normally I'd stop at the line, but there wasn't a line. So I went a little bit up so that I could see, and then I pulled out. Everything that I did with this guy went well. I drove well, and I backed into the spot perfectly, which I was extremely nervous about, but I did it perfectly, and I was like, all right, there's no way I can't pass this time. I was doing great. When he asked me to back in, it was in like a shopping center near like a grocery store or something. He asked me, he's like, all right, now pull out of the spot, we'll pull out of the shopping center, and then take a right back towards DMV or whatever. Normally, sidewalks, when you're walking on the road, they're like up a little bit because, you know, it's a sidewalk, but then they dip down where the road is so you can drive, you know, because you don't drive over the sidewalk. Oh god. So I'm pulling out of the shopping center and there's a sidewalk there, so, you know, obviously it dips down, so I'm on the road part. So I go, he's like, turn right or whatever, so I turn, so I have my blinker on, I'm waiting for people to pass by, and then I go. So as I'm making the turn, I notice like the car is like up a little bit, and then I go and I drove over the sidewalk. Now, you're probably like, Kev, how do you drive over the sidewalk? But where the area dips down was not where the road started. It was literally in the middle. Honestly, unless you saw that and you like swerved around like this or cut the wheel like in a weird way and like hit the people coming in, then there's no way you weren't going to go over the sidewalk. You know, obviously being nervous, I didn't notice that, and I went over the sidewalk and I was just sitting there and I was just like, he did that over dramatic thing where he's like, I'm driving and all is well. After that, you know, obviously I was really upset that happened, because I was like, just please don't say anything about that. We get back to the DMV and we get out, and I was like, this guy was really nice. Like, he's not gonna, it's okay. I did everything else right, you know? And he starts critiquing every little thing. He literally told me that I drove over the sidewalk with 3 wheels. How are you going to drive over a sidewalk with 3 wheels? This car is literally larger than the sidewalk. There's no way if you drive over with 1 wheel or 2, like that's something, but you can't drive over a sidewalk with 3 wheels. That's like what I wanted to say to this guy, but I was like, I'm gonna keep my cool, like I'm not gonna yell at him. That's not okay, you shouldn't do that. So he starts critiquing everything, and I'm standing here for like 10 minutes while he does this and told me I failed, and my mom's standing right next to me and she's just like what? After he's done rambling, even my mom was like, this guy kept going on, and he was critiquing things that he shouldn't even have done. After he goes on and on and on and on, he asked me, he goes, do you want to schedule another test? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm done. I don't need my license. I don't want to do this. I'm upset. There's no way I'm going to pass. So my mom ended up booking me another one because she was like, you have to get your license, you know, it'll be fine. And I was extremely upset for a long time. I don't think I drove a car for a month or so after that, just because I was so like upset by what had happened, and kind of like I was pretty much embarrassed with myself. Do you know what he said to me too when I drove over the sidewalk, like at the end? He said, if someone was standing at the very edge of that sidewalk, you would have ran over the toes and broke it and caused the whole scene, and all these bad things would have gone, and on and on and on. If someone was standing at the sidewalk, I would have moved over even more. You know, like I wouldn't have hit, like obviously I wouldn't have known. I just gave up at that point. I was like, I'm not dealing with him anymore. But eventually, you know, I figured I need to get back in the car. I need my license. Like, this is going to happen. Everything will work out fine. So I go and schedule another test, which mine happens to be in August, like mid-August, I think. I practice a lot. Like, I practice, even before my test, I practice for at least 2 to 3 hours every single day before my test. Like, I practiced a lot. Eventually, I got the appointment, you know, everything was going well. So I get to the DMV and I was like, all right, this is it. This is the 3rd time that I'm taking this driver's test. There's absolutely no way I can fail. 3rd time's a charm. I'm going to be fine. I was like extremely nervous. I get to the DMV and I like check in. The guy that works there, he's been there every single time that I've gone. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm like the guy that's taking you today. I was like, great, like you're so nice. And he was like, you're going to pass. You're going to do great. Your dad has taught you well. Like, I see you and like, you're going to be fine. And I was like, oh, thank God I have an actual decent person that's going to help me for once. So I get to the car and we're doing like the first part of it. So, you know, I'm like turning the lights on, blinkers, everything, checking that. So he asked me, he goes, step on the brakes so that he can like check that the brake lights are working. Like, step on the brakes, and he goes, did you do it? And I was like, yeah. And then he asked me, he goes, can you do it again? So like I did it again, and he kept asking me, he's like, press the brakes, like do it again. He comes back in the car and sits and he goes, your brake light is out. And I was like, are you sure? Do people check their brake lights? I'm sorry. Wow, this makes me sound like a really bad driver. Do people check brake lights, or how are you supposed to know when a brake light is out, especially when you're in the car? Like, unless someone else saw you and told you, it'd be pretty difficult to check. And so I told him, I was like, okay, so like, what does that mean? And he goes, well, if you guys didn't know, having a brake light out is illegal. You can't drive with it. And I was like, well, but like, you're an instructor. He told me, he was like, unfortunately, you cannot take your test today, but I will let you reschedule for another time free of charge. I won't even make you pay for this. So I go back in, and you know, I was just so frustrated at this point. I didn't even get to take my test. I was so prepared and ready to do well, and I didn't even get a chance to take the test. So I go and reschedule, and like I said, with the DMV, everything takes forever. I asked him, I was like, all right, so when's the next appointment that I can book? And she goes, oh, well, we have something in like October. It was mid-August. So now, not only do I have to wait forever again just to take the test, but I have to live with myself that I failed 3 times, and now I have to take the test all over again when I was all prepared and ready just because of a stupid brake light. And then I get there on the 4th time. So, you know, I had practiced everything. I was honestly used to driving at that point because I had driven so much, and I was ready. So I get to the DMV for the 4th time. The guy that I had, I was kind of like, I didn't really know what to think of him. He didn't really talk much at all. I mean, you're not supposed to talk to the person. Usually I'm there and I'm like, you know, hey, how are you doing? How's your day? They won't really have a full-on conversation with you just because it can be distracting, but when I'm nervous, I like to talk to people like that. But yeah, unfortunately, they won't talk with you. So I get with this guy and I'm driving, everything is good, and you know, we're doing great. We're driving, I backed in perfectly, everything's great. And I get back to the DMV and I just like park into the spot. At the very end, like when you park into the spot, there's a little bump, you know, like I wouldn't call it a speed bump, but it's like a little thing so that you know like where the spot ends so you don't go any further and scrape the front part of your car. So I drive, and I was like, okay, I think I'm close enough, and I go to put it in park, and it was just like a little bit touching the little bumper thing that, what would you call that? I'm gonna insert like a picture so you guys know what I'm talking about. He's like, you're just on a little bit back up, and I just like sat there and I was like, I go and I put it, you know, like in reverse a little bit, put it in park, and he goes, all right, so you did this, and you were good, you're good, okay, all right, you passed. So when he told me this, I literally looked at him and I was like, thank you. And I grabbed the paper and I was like, I went to the counter, I was like, I passed, finally. It took 4 times to get it, but I passed. Okay guys, so that is it for today's story time video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about my embarrassing story driving. This happened, I got my license in October, and it's now March of the following year. And I've been doing good, you know? Doing good driving. So yeah, just let you guys know, if you fail your driver's test the first time, or second time, or third time, there's still hope for you to pass it, so don't worry about that. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.